Hi everyone, my name's Leanne Halsey and I'm the owner and instructor at Connected Pilates. I'd just like to thank you all for joining me tonight, and for those of you that can't join me live, thank you for looking back later on. I just also want to say a big thank you to Michelle Bradshaw for organising and giving me the opportunity to share my Pilates love with you tonight. Thanks Michelle for organising this Mind Medicine at Home series. I think it's going to be a really great opportunity for a lot of people to learn new things while we're at home. Today, I'll be talking to you about Pilates, especially those that are either new to Pilates or interested in learning a little more about it and what it actually is. If you wanted to try Pilates, today is a really great opportunity because at the end of this session, you're going to have a chance to give a few introductory exercises a try yourself at home. If you have a mat handy nearby, you can grab it. If not, just a nice comfy spot on the floor beside you, if you like. That's totally fine. I'm going to explain some of the movements first, and then after we talk about the fundamentals and basics of Pilates, we will give it a try. What I'm going to talk about today is a little bit of my history and how I became a Pilates instructor, the history of Pilates, the principles and fundamentals of Pilates, and towards the end, like I said, we're going to have about 6 exercises towards the end, just to give you a little teaser of what Pilates is and how it feels. So a little about me. I've been a Pilates instructor for around almost 2 years now, and I've done Pilates myself for about probably coming up 5 years now. I discovered Pilates purely by accident. It wasn't something that I went out searching for as such. I had cancer around 7 years ago, and after surgery, I couldn't even pick up a shopping bag in my hand. So once sort of those realities of what I'd been through had hit home, that's when I decided that I needed to try something and try and be healthy for myself, my family, my children. I was pretty overweight as well. Purely I was just on Facebook one night, saw an advertisement for a new Pilates program that was coming up just here in my local town. So I thought, why not? Let's give it a go. I was sort of not wanting the typical huff and puff kind of exercise. I thought Pilates was going to be the lazy version of exercise, if you like. I figure we're on a mat, really. How hard can it be? But in saying that, Pilates can be really challenging. It certainly works all of your major muscle groups, and I absolutely love it. I do have some notes in front of me, so forgive me for looking at them. I just really don't want to miss anything to share with you guys. So like I said, found the Pilates class. I was the very nervous girl that hid up in the very back corner. I took a friend along with me, mainly because I didn't want to be by myself. So fast forward a little bit of time, I went from one back corner to the other, to the front corner. And then my trainer then asked me to pop up on stage with her to be the demo model as such. So I certainly evolved from that very back corner when I first showed up. I really loved what I love about Pilates, and what I originally found out about it is that I really loved the way it made me feel. Yes, we're not running a marathon, but using all of our muscle groups. After that, I really felt like I had a full gym workout. I felt relaxed, and I slept so well during those Pilates nights. So that's sort of what really, I really felt great about it. And after that, that's when I sort of decided I want to know a little bit more, mainly for myself. I wanted to know more about the techniques. I wanted to know more about the exercises. I wanted to know more probably about the technicalities of it. So then I decided to go and just do the instructor training. So that involved training in Sydney. That was through Studio Pilates International, and I absolutely loved the training. So I'm also currently I've currently undertaking another 2 courses. One of them is Pilates for back pain, and the other is Pilates for pregnancy. So I'm really, really excited about those. So I'm currently running classes in Newcastle, face-to-face classes. But thanks to COVID, now I'm also online. So that's really enabled me to reach more people further away that can't actually make it face-to-face to Newcastle, And for those that, wanted to have the comfort of their own home, that I can actually reach those people. So I'm really, really loving that. Like I said earlier, if you want to follow along at home, just, have a mat, nice spot on the floor, totally fine. Today, we're just going to be doing a mat work version. So there are many different types of equipment that you can use for Pilates. Myself here tonight, we're not going to use any equipment, but some of the other equipment that we can use, you can sort of see behind me. So there's a Pilates ring, there are sliders, there's small balls, or there's also the bigger equipment that you may have seen. That's a reformer, there's a Wonder chair, there's a Cadillac machine. They are quite expensive. But myself, one of my first loves is the mat Pilates. So that's what we're going to do tonight. It can be done pretty well anywhere without that equipment. And today's session, like I said, will be a mat work introduction, and we're just going to use our own body weight as resistance. So that's enough about me. Let's talk about the history of Pilates. So Pilates was developed by a German-born gentleman. His name was Joseph Pilates. He developed Pilates as the exercise program in the 1920s. He devised a sequence of movements that worked the mind and muscle in harmony together. Joseph Pilates fine-tuned his regime while in England during World War I. He worked as an orderly in an infirmary, and he used the bed springs of those patients that were bedridden. So he devised the way of using springs as resistance to rehabilitate these soldiers that were bedridden. So about mid-1990s, it became quite popular, mainly with top athletes and Hollywood stars. And today, physiotherapists use Pilates as a rehabilitation tool as well. So a lot of the physiotherapists use some of the Pilates exercises to rehabilitate any injuries people may have, their clients that come to see them. So it can be used for that as well. And research has also shown how important core stability and strength is, especially during injury management. I myself know how important it is during injury, and how we can target those tiny little stabilizing muscles that you may not work during other exercise programs. So I can vouch for that. There's a quote that Joseph Pilates has said. He has many, but one of my favorite ones is this: Pilates develops the body uniformly, corrects wrong posture, restores physical vitality, invigorates the mind, and elevates the spirit. For me, it does all of that. So, like I said before, I always feel really great after doing a Pilates session. Now we're going to talk about the principles of Pilates. So there is 8 principles. I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of each one, just so you understand why we use these principles. The first principle is concentration. Yes, concentration. A Pilates workout involves complete concentration on what our bodies are doing and how we are moving. We need to concentrate on having our correct posture, our body positioning, our movement patterns, muscle activation, and concentrating on our breathing. I'll talk a little bit about breathing in just a couple of moments, but that's our first principle. Our second one is centering. Centering meaning the core. These are our core exercises through here, our core muscles. So every exercise focuses on the activation of the center or the core of our body. The tightening of these muscles improves our posture. It helps to prevent injury. It's also important when we look at the order of the muscles that we actually activate to perform the different exercises. So there's an order that we follow. Now, breathing, like I said, we'll come back to breathing. It's very important. You must keep breathing. Every exercise involves a breathing pattern, which improves the effectiveness of that exercise we're actually doing. It helps to activate our correct muscles that are required to do the exercise. It also helps us to supply oxygen into all of our muscles. Therefore, that's why I sleep better. It also removes waste products and helps us to prevent holding our breath. I always say to my clients, whatever you do, keep breathing. So our fourth one is control. Maintaining control of each movement is also very important. Pilates isn't always about strengthening muscles. It's also controlling the way that we contract them and the way that our body moves. Uncontrolled or jerky movements can actually cause injury, and we definitely don't want that. Our fifth principle is precision. So the movements need to be precise. For each exercise, we need to have the correct body posture, the position, the correct muscle activation, and the movement that we use within that exercise. Our sixth principle is a flowing movement. So Pilates movements need to be continuously flowing. Think of it that there isn't a start and the end to an exercise. It's a continuous, controlled movement. Okay. So, like I said, there isn't a start or an end, it's a continuous. This means that your muscles are moving continuously and they're not, having to reset, restart. It's just a continuous flow. Then there's their last two principles are isolation and routine. They go together. So with isolation, it's the isolation of the smaller stabilizing muscles. We also use our major muscles, but it's also really good to target those smaller, isolating muscles that we have. And routine. So Joseph Pilates did Pilates every day of his life. So if you can fit Pilates into your current regular activity, that'd be really great. You'll definitely notice the difference. If you can do it more than once a week, that is really great as well. Just to feel that maximum benefit that you can possibly get. So how does Pilates work? Pilates helps to increase our core stability, as I said. It's a total body conditioning and body toning. So you can target any muscle group within your body. We have our major muscles, so like our core, our glutes, leg muscles, shoulders, back. We can use any of the exercises to target specific areas if you wish. It also corrects muscle imbalances. And like I said before, it corrects posture. So you'll find that that you're up taller, your shoulders will be down and back. And injuries. Some people I hear say to me that they can't do Pilates because of injuries. Pilates is for everybody. Modifications can be provided for any exercise we have. So if you have a dodgy knee, disc problems in your back, sore shoulders, like I currently have at the moment, we do modifications for that. So what we actually do is a different exercise. It still targets the muscles we'll be doing in the exercise. Okay. So yeah, there is always a way around things. Also, Pilates can also be done whilst a lady is pregnant. So depending on what stage of the pregnancy she's in, modifications can be given for any particular exercise that we're doing. Similar to injuries, you can use a different exercise to target the same muscle that we were doing that exercise for. So yeah, pregnancy ladies, you can also do Pilates. So now let's get on to some of the positioning of what our exercises are. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our pelvic and spinal positions. So we have two spinal positions that we use in Pilates. The first one is a neutral spine and the second is an imprinted spine. I'm going to explain what they are. Our neutral spine is when we have the normal curve in the lumbar spine or our lower spine. Everyone is different, so due to different body shapes and sizes, each person's spine has a different shape. With our neutral spine, the way to determine that, and we're going to try this later, but I'm just going to talk to you about it first. The way to determine where our neutral spine is we're going to have our thumbs and pointer fingers in a triangle. We're going to have the base of our hands on our hip bones and our pointer fingers on our pubic bone. Our hands should be parallel with the floor. So we don't want our pubic bone or hip bone at different levels. Our aim is to have it stable while still maintaining that natural curve of our lower spine. Our imprinted spine is when we use our abdominal muscles to gently draw our lower back towards the mat. Okay, this should be as far as we can towards the mat without lifting our tailbone off the mat. We need it to be in contact with our mat at all times. Our lower back doesn't have to actually touch the mat, but for some of you, it may. Like I said, we're all different shapes and sizes. So each person may be able to get their lower spine onto the mat, others may not, and that's totally fine. So think of it as using your abdominals to draw that lower back to the floor. Okay, we will try this. And your pubic bone will actually tuck ever so slightly. And so your fingers, back to our diamond shape, our fingers will actually be slightly higher than our thumbs. But remember, keep your tailbone onto the mat. Our next thing we're going to talk about is this mysterious thing called a T-zone. Some people go, I don't have one of them. I can guarantee you do have a T-zone. So our T-zone refers to the activation of two muscles that we have. The first one is the transversus abdominis muscle, and the second is our pelvic floor. We've all heard about pelvic floor muscles. The transversus abdominis are a really deep internal muscle. Imagine a corset around our middle. That's our transversus abdominis muscle. So the combination of both of those is called the T-zone. And what you can do is you can actually visualize what the T-zone would look like by drawing an imaginary letter T on your pelvis. So the vertical is your pelvic floor lifting up, and the horizontal is your abdominis muscles drawing across and in. So imagine drawing your two hip bones together. Try and meet them together. So before any exercise in Pilates, it's important to have the T-zone activated. It's the basis of every exercise we do. And as instructors, we always say when to have T-zone switched on, and then we get into our exercises from that. So that is always the first thing that we do, is have our T-zone on, ready to support us into our exercises. It's important to be activated correctly as it stabilizes our pelvis and our lower back. We really need to protect our lower back. Breathing, like we talked about before, breathing is very important. For each movement, there's a breath in and a breath out that accompanies the exercise that we're doing. This type of breathing we use is called lateral breathing. We always inhale through our nose and exhale through our mouth. As we're breathing in, we're directing our breath into our ribs and we expand our ribs out, okay? We can try this later, but what we'll do is actually pop our hands on our ribs, and as we inhale in, our fingers that are touching here at the moment, as we breathe in, our fingers will actually come apart. And then as we breathe out, our fingers will meet again. So we will practice this again in just a moment. The other thing we often talk about is our shoulder blade positioning. This is our scapular bones, known as shoulder blades. And it's also really important. Our shoulder blades should be down and back. So it's important for correct positioning that we do this so we don't have any tension in our neck or in our upper back muscles here. We need to have our shoulder blades, again, down and back. So imagine drawing your shoulder blades. Imagine if you've got pockets on the back, say a pair of jeans. You're going to pull one shoulder blade down and back and try and put it in the direction of the opposite hip pocket. And the other one as well, down and back. So you're sitting up nice and tall, shoulder blades, down and back, okay? Our next thing we're going to talk about is our neck position. Our neck should always stay in a neutral position, and our cervical spine should always maintain its natural curve. So if you run your hand down the back of your head, you'll feel that you have a curve in the back of your neck. It's really important to keep and maintain and protect that natural curve. And what we'll also do is imagine that you have, we're going to elongate through the crown of our head. Imagine somebody's pulling a string off the top of your head. We're going to tuck our chin and have a nice long neck. Our other position that we talk about is tabletop. Exercises can be done with our feet on the floor or up into a position called tabletop. It sounds exactly what it sounds like. So a tabletop, we're actually going to be, I'll show you, we'll be on our back, our knees will be together, our hips will be at right angles, and our knees will be at right angles. So imagine your tabletop, which are your shins, is like a table. You have a glass of wine or a glass of water on there. We need to keep it level. We don't want to spill those drinks. So that's known as tabletop. So how about we have a try of what we learned? For those of you at home or watching back, pop down onto your mat and we're going to do this. So on your back, we're going to talk about our neutral spine and our imprinted spine first. So neutral spine, lay down on your mat. We're going to have our knees bent, feet hip distance apart, and you can put your hands just underneath your lower spine, and you should feel a little gap between your back and the mat. What I talked about before with our diamond, pop the heels of your hands on your hip bones, and you'll have your fingertips on your pubic bone. Our aim is to have that level or parallel with the mat. Okay, you may just have to wriggle around a little bit, have a little look, have a little feel, and if you feel that you're parallel, that's your neutral spine. So this is where we're going to have the back, we're going to have a gap between our back and the floor, and we'll be level here. Now what I like you to do is to use those abdominal muscles you have to tilt your pelvis ever so slightly and draw your abdominals and your spine towards the floor. We still want to have your tailbone touching the mat, but simply it's bringing those abdominal muscles to bring that spine closer to the mat. So that's our neutral and our abdominal, our imprinted spine. So now, T-zone, this is where we're going to practice this. So again, stay in the position that you're in, down onto the floor. I want you to imagine that you're bringing up your pelvic floor muscles. So bring them up nice and tight. Imagine if you're going to the toilet and you need to stop going to the toilet. You're going to draw those muscles up. So that's the vertical line of our T. And now we're going to draw our horizontal across. So we're going to try and draw our hip bones together. Okay, squeezing together. Imagine putting on a tight pair of jeans. You're trying to do that button up. So you're going to bring your pelvic floor up. You're going to try and do those jeans up, and we're going to flatten it out and hold it. That is our T-zone. A way that we can test our T-zone on ourselves is use your 2 pointer fingers and pop them just inside your hip bones by about 1 centimetre or 2 centimetres in, and just gently push down and engage your T-zone and let it go. The aim is that you should feel a slight flickering or a slight tension just under your fingers. It's totally okay if you don't feel it. Just keep practicing. So again, draw your pelvic floor up, draw hip bones together, and that's our T-zone. So again, the imaginary letter T. So yes, for those ladies that are joining me, when I talk about your pelvic floor, imagine stopping going to the toilet. For those guys that may be here, imagine running into the cold water at the ocean and you need to draw everything up, okay? So that's another comparison that we use. So that's our spinal positions and our T-zone. Okay, where are we up to? We're up to our breathing. So again, you can stay laying on the floor for this one, or you can pop sitting back up with me and we're going to talk about our breathing. So again, you can pop your hands just on your ribs. We want our fingers to meet in the middle, okay? And as I said, we breathe in and we're going to push the air into the sides of our ribs. When we do that, our fingers should come apart. So ready? Inhale in through the nose. Hold it. Breathe out and our fingers will meet back together. So let's try it again. Inhale. And our fingers separate. And exhale back together. So a lot of the time when we're working, going about our ordinary day, we're doing really shallow breathing. That tends to go into our tummy. This is lateral breathing, and it's more of a deeper, more concentrated breathing. Okay. So like I said, inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Now again, our shoulder blades. We're going to practice drawing our shoulder blades down and back. So you can sit up for this one if you like. So whilst we're sitting up, we can now put your right shoulder. We're going to draw our shoulder blades down and back. So again, down and back to the opposite hip. Do the left shoulder as well. We're not so much squeezing the muscles between our shoulder blades. We're just correcting our posture and sliding our scapular bones down and back. So that's it. Our neck position. So we need to tuck our chin ever so slightly to elongate through the crown of our head. Our tabletop, now let's lay back down. Our tabletop here is we're going to have our hips at right angles and our knees at right angles. So we'll be like this. We always bring one leg up at a time and hold it. And then also when we finish, one leg down at a time. So we'll just have our hands down by our side, up into tabletop. So again, you can see the right angle of my hips and the right angle of my knees and my tabletop. So imagine I have a drink that's on the tabletop here. And this is the way that we should be holding our tabletop. Our toes will also be pointed because that also helps activate the right muscles that we're trying to target. So there we go. So if you just want to lay there on the mat at the moment, I'll give you just a few moments just to practice. You're engaging your T-zone. Again, you can pop your fingers just inside your hip bones and switch on and switch off. And this, yes, like I said before, we always talk about our T-zone. We talk about our spinal position. We talk about our breathing. and how we can actually get the most benefit out of the exercises that we do. Okay, once we've got that, let's pop back up into tabletop, one leg at a time, with our right angle of our hips, right angle of our knees, and our table across the top, pointed toes. And this, again, is called tabletop. Okay, so that's basically all of our fundamentals, our basics, and the correct positioning of what we need to use for, yes, our spinal position, our breathing, our tabletop. And so now we're actually going to try some exercises. So if you guys are all ready, what we're going to do is 6 introductory exercises. I'll explain each one as we go along and how we should be positioned and what we're going to do. So our first one is, I'm just going to lay back down on the mat. This one's called our bent knee fallout, and it is what it suggests. We're going to have our knees bent, our hands will be down by our side, our feet will be hip distance apart, our chin will be tucked, shoulder blades down and back. We're going to inhale, tighten our T-zone, and as we exhale, we're slowly going to let one leg, we're going to control it, slowly lower one knee towards the floor. Okay, and inhale, we're going to return it back to our center position. Now we're going to alternate and go to the other side. So exhale and slowly lower that leg towards the floor, and inhale back up. We're going to keep alternating and keep doing this. Our aim here is to have our T-zone nice and tight and stable so that our hips are not rocking as we're making this movement. As we do this, we really want to make sure that our bottom isn't lifting up onto the mat. Okay, we need our tailbone onto the mat, and we're only going to lower that knee down just so far that we keep everything nice and controlled and we're not arching through our lower back. That's it. Keep going. Again, exhaling down and inhaling back. Beautiful. You might find that your foot is rolling up off the mat a little, and that's totally okay. So that other stabilizing leg that we have that's staying still, try and make sure that your kneecap is still pointing towards the ceiling. Okay, you can pop your hands onto your hip bones just to feel if there's any movement through your abdominal muscles. That's it. So if you want to make this one a little easier, don't quite lower your leg down quite as far. Or if you'd like more of a challenge, lower it down as far as you can without twisting or without any curling or lifting through your abdominals and your lower spine. We want to keep everything nice and solid and still. Beautiful. So just a reminder, you're going to have your chin tucked in, shoulder blades down and back, T-zone really nice and tight, and our tailbone down onto the mat. Okay, we'll do 2 more each side here. Okay, nearly there. Okay, 1 more each side. Okay, well done. So that is our first Pilates exercise. Our second one that we're going to do is called lift foot. Again, this is an abdominal muscle. We usually start with our abdominal muscles to warm ourselves up because all of our exercises will come from our core here. So we like to warm them up before we get into any of the other more challenging exercises. So this one called lift foot. So again, the same position that you were in. We're going to be flat on our back, our legs bent, feet hip distance apart, hands down by our side, T-zone nice and tight. And what we're going to do here is as we exhale, we're going to bring one leg up into our tabletop position. So again, right angle on the hip, right angle on the knee, and then back down. Now to the other side. So we'll exhale up and inhale down. And that is it. We keep on going with this one. This is lift foot. So again, let's do a body check. We want to have our chin tucked in, shoulder blades down and back, T-zone nice and tight. That's it. So whilst we're doing this one, to make it easier, don't lift your leg quite so high, okay? Or if you want to make it more of a challenge, bring it up to the full right angle positions, pause it at the top before you come back down. And again, with this one, with our stabilizing leg, we want to keep it really nice and stable. So imagine having that kneecap pointing towards the ceiling. Beautiful. Again, for this one, you can pop your hands onto your hip bones if you like, just to feel if you have any movement. If you need to, you can reset your T-zone after each exercise. That's it, your eyes should be pointed towards the ceiling. And remember, shoulder blades down and back so we're not hunching up through our shoulders. We'll exhale up and inhale down. Beautiful. We'll do one more on each side. Beautiful. Well done. You've now done 2 Pilates exercises. Our next one is going to be, it's named as leg slides. And again, it's literally what the title is. We're going to slide our heel out across the mat. So same position as what we were in before. Our knees bent, feet hip distance apart, hands down by our side. And we'll inhale T-zone and exhale as we slowly slide our heel over our mat or the floor, out parallel to the floor if you can. We'll inhale back to our center and start position before we alternate to the other side. So again, exhale as we slide our heel across the mat and inhale back. So just remember, T-zone nice and tight. Slide it out, that's it. So for this one, to make it easier, don't quite slide your heel out quite so far. Or if you want more of a challenge, slide your foot out, your heel out as far as you can, parallel with the mat. Well done. We'll do a few more here. So again, let's do a body check. So chin tucked in, shoulder blades down and back, T-zone nice and tight. That's it. Neutral spine with our tailbone onto the mat. We'll do one more each side. That's it. Well done. Our next one we're going to do, we're going to be in the same position again. This one's called lift and extend. So it's similar to our lift foot that we've done before. We're going to combine both of those exercises that we've just done. So again, down onto the mat, onto our back, knees bent, feet hip distance apart, chin tucked in, shoulder blades down and back. We'll inhale T-zone. We're going to exhale as we bring our leg up into tabletop one at a time. Then we're going to extend our leg towards the mat. Bring it back to our start position. And then foot down. So again, inhale T-zone. Again, exhale to bring it up. Inhale to bring it up. Exhale to extend. Inhale back to tabletop. Exhale down. Beautiful. Inhale up. Exhale, extend. Inhale back to tabletop. Exhale down. Keep going there and make sure you're alternating between each side. So to make this one a little easier, as we're extending our leg, don't extend it quite so down towards the floor. You can keep it a little higher. That's okay as well. Before we bring it back to our start position, ready to reset and start again. Beautiful. So we exhale as we extend. Inhale back. Exhale down. Beautiful. Keep going with that. Again, you can have your hands just gently onto your hip bones to feel for any movement. If you can feel some movement there, maybe reset your T-zone. Just release it and reset at the start of our exercise. So as we're here, reset T-zone, hold it on nice and tight. So bring that leg up, ready to extend it out. We'll bring it back in and back to our start position. We'll do one more each side. There we go. Okay, and rest. If you have a bottle of water near you and you need it, feel free to take a break at any time. I always say to my clients, that you can take a break whenever you need it, grab a drink of water whenever you need it. And Pilates isn't a competition with the person that may be beside you at a class. It's all about you. Our next one we're actually going to do are our ab curls. Now, these aren't our traditional ab curls that you may see some guys or ladies at the gym doing. These ones are really nice and slow. What we're going to do is, back to our start position, we're going to have our hands gently behind our head with our head gently resting in it. So for this one, we're not going to be pulling on our neck. It's all really nice and controlled. So for this one, on our back, elbows nice and wide, we're going to have our legs bent, our knees bent, and feet hip distance apart. So for this one, as we start, we're going to inhale T-zone. We're going to tuck our chin and slowly exhale and roll up. So imagine we're going to have chin to chest, chest to ribs, ribs to hips, okay? And inhale back down. So again, exhale as we slowly curl up and inhale back down, really nice and slow. Remember that flow that we talked about at the start. It's not a start and an end to the exercise. We just keep slowly moving through. Okay, so again, let's do a body check. Elbows nice and wide, chin tucked, shoulder blades down and back. We'll exhale as we curl up and inhale as we come back down. Remember, T-zone really nice and tight. We're working our really deep abdominal muscles. These are the ones under the six pack that you may hear people talk of. Beautiful. Okay, to make this one easier, don't curl up quite so high. Just make it a small movement and then go back down. To make it harder, you can actually curl up as high as you can, making sure that we still have that tailbone onto the mat. That's it. You should be starting to feel your abdominal muscles working now. Beautiful. We'll do 3 more. So remember your breathing. Don't hold on to your breathing and make sure your shoulder blades are down and back. Elbows nice and wide. Okay, 1 more. And rest. Take a break when you need it. Our next one we're going to do is our abdominal curl again, but this time we're going to have our feet up into tabletop. You should really feel a difference with this one. So for this one, we're going to have our imprinted spine. So remember, using your abdominal muscles to bring that spine towards the mat. We'll be up into tabletop, 1 leg at a time. Hands behind our head, elbows nice and wide, chin tucked in, shoulder blades down and back. And again, inhale T-zone and exhale as we slowly curl up. As we curl up, look at your thighs. And then inhale to come back down. Again, beautiful. So you might find that your abdominal muscles are starting to shake now. They're all warming up. There we go. So exhaling up, inhaling back. So if you want to make this one easier again, don't curl up quite so high, or a little harder, curl up as high as you can. If you find this is a little bit too much, you can go back to our feet on the floor version that we've just done prior to this one. If you can, keep it up into tabletop. So again, we want right angles at our hips, right angles at our knees, toes pointed, elbows nice and wide. We'll do 3 more. Remember to keep breathing. Well done. And last one. Okay, feet down 1 at a time and rest. Our last exercise that we'll be doing tonight is one called a pendulum. So imagine back in the earlier days, we had a pendulum that swung. This is what we're going to do similar with our legs. So hands down by your side. We'll have our feet up into tabletop. And for this one, we're going to have our chin tucked in, shoulder blades down and back, palms facing up. We're going to inhale and bring both knees over to one side. Just lower it towards the floor. And exhale back to our start position. So again, maintaining our tabletop position. Okay. This one can also be done on the floor. So for anyone that's got any lower back problems or disc problems, pop your feet down on the floor and lower your knees to one side. So for this one, we want to make sure that our shoulder blades are on the mat at all times. Okay. So T-zone nice and tight. Inhale to one side. You might find that one side of your bottom will lift. It's okay. So if you want to make this one easier, just don't lower your legs quite so far. Or if you want a bit more of a challenge, you can go a little bit further as long as your shoulder blades stay onto the mat. There are a few different levels of pendulum. You may think that this one is easy. This is the basic where we start, and we build upon this one. Okay, so again, inhale as we lower. Exhale back to the center before we drop back over to the other side. Beautiful. One more on each side. Beautiful. Now one leg at a time, down we go. So again, there's just 6 introductory exercises that we have. There are quite a lot more challenging exercises, but again, like I said, this is our beginner version. Once we have all of these fundamental moves down, we build upon them, we can make them challenging, we combine them, and you will certainly get a huge workout. As you can tell, I'm already puffing, so sorry about that. So again, just to recap, well done to you for tuning in and learning a little more about Pilates. Thank you for joining me. I've really enjoyed, sharing my Pilates love, as I say. And just to recap on what we've learnt tonight. So you've learnt the history of Pilates and where it came from. You've learnt the principles of the Pilates method. So that's the 8 principles that we talked about. You've learnt how it works. You've also discovered your T-zone, how it works and how to switch it on. You've also learned about our 2 spinal positions. So again, our neutral spine and our imprinted spine. You've learned about our shoulder and neck positioning. You've learned about how important breathing is and our lateral breathing. You've learned tabletop and also how to try 6 of these introductory exercises. So again, thank you for joining me. If you'd like to contact me at all or explore Pilates a little more, you can feel free to find me. I'm on Facebook as Connected Pilates. I'm also on Instagram as connected.pilates, or give me a call on 0407 911 950. I run 6 weekly Pilates programs, usually at Newcastle Health Collective, but at the moment, like I said, we're online. So if you're interested, give me a call. I'll chat you through it and see what we can do and see what we can help you. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learnt, I know that you've learnt something. I hope you really got some benefit out of it. And like I said, give me a call.